Data centers are the backbone of our connected lives, powering everything from streaming services to cloud storage. So if you're curious about how the digital infrastructure will look like in our future, you don't want to miss this conversation. So let's jump right in.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our new episode of the Janitza podcast, PowerTalks. Today, I would like to welcome again to our new episode Michael Da Costa, our country and entity manager from Australia, and Hari Bala, our country and entity manager from India. Welcome back, guys, and thanks for coming. Today, we are having a very interesting topic. It is about powering tomorrow, the future of data center and energy management with that. So very crucial and very nowadays uptime topic in the society everywhere, but also, of course, in our business. So today I would like to give, let's say, some questions to you guys as you are experts into these thematic. So starting actually already, can you explain, let's say, the current status of energy consumptions in data centers? Probably Hari.
It's getting power intensive and it's very nice. They have been growing and efficiently managing the energy all through compared to what it started maybe 15-20 years back. How it's going excellently well for the data centers to go with how it has to if improvement of efficiency is always a continuous process in the data centers.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. Look at a data center 10, 15, 20 years ago compared to a modern data center today. Wow, talking about taking the lead on energy efficiency. So, yeah, we talk about consumption. Right. Yes, the demand is higher, but the efficiency is greater.
Right point, yeah. What are with that one, let's say, with the nowadays, the emergent technologies which are being implemented let's say, in the data centers for the energy monitoring?
Yeah, I'll continue that from the last answer then. If you look at what we do, think of our meters 10, 15 years ago, moving with technology, and now we've got a large consumer wanting to be the leaders in efficiency, and they want to know these finite values, these real fine values. Look at our meters we produce today for the data center industry. You know, look at some of our branch feeder meters and really our cycles per, our cycles per second, or just everything we're looking at. I love talking about power quality, as you know, and we look at the power quality parameters we're taking today versus 10, 15, 20 years ago.
As they cannot monitor their insulation levels, and they are also started monitoring residual current in the in data centers. So which gives a greater security for them, at least with respect to the leakage currents. So I'm glad that we have in our portfolio the RCM measurement aspect, and then it is absolutely amazing. Data centers are using it to for a better, safer conditions, right, in their data centers. And
I see. So just to say here, let's say to energy consumption is also a point of power quality, and RCM are leading aspects into that. Yeah, just for our people who are not into that much technical insight. So very interesting on that side. How is the sustainable goals influencing the design and operation of modern data centers, Hari?
They are getting more and more sustainable. There are data centers who are in India, countries like India, we have something called as open access system for green energy. So they can buy green energy from elsewhere in the country, and then they can still use it into their facilities. So these kind of small steps towards opening up with the data center energy, the way in which they consume energy and from where they consume energy, they are on track for more and more sustainable practices.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So
you have something similar?
Yeah, at home, we've got industry leaders and associations, really looking at the efficiency of data centers and also helping data center operators. So they're creating benchmarks. If we're talking about 10 years ago, nobody benchmarked a data center.
Correct.
When we talk about Neighbors and Green Star and, all the things we had 10, 15 years ago, data centers weren't a part of that.
Yes.
Now they are. And this is great because they're working hand in hand to create these stable goals and efficiency markers.
It's not about the consumption. It's about how efficient each data center works. Yes, that's just like
Yeah, we are actually at the point. How does the data center operator effectively track and manage their energy consumption?
Yeah.
What is your experience by the projects we have done?
data centers are trying to more and more try to know where their power consumption is going on. It's not only on their typical servers what they have, but also in the other utility facilities,
Right.
like cooling and lighting at various places. Even someone is monitoring their street lights, how it is being done. In fact, some of the street lights are made solar as well in these cases. Monitoring has become very crucial to understand how they do it. And then they also calculate the efficiency of the data centers with these monitored values. So that's how it has been happening.
Michael, any areas which you have seen in the data center, which areas has to be monitored?
Yeah, but interesting coming from you, because you and I worked on a project for 5 years now, right?
Right.
In Australia, 22 sites. And everything we've monitored from up the cooling system to, originally it started about talking about power quality and measurements in the main switchboard.
Yes.
How many different teams have we now spoken with within the data center group? And now we're looking at, monitoring at rack level. We're monitoring the temperature in inside and outside each one of the switch rooms. We're monitoring the cooling system. We're monitoring some of the flow, right?
Mm.
These are all the things, if we look at that, related back to sustainable goals and how they're using this data. One thing I always lead to, and what I'm about to say here is one thing I compliment their systems. They've got BMSs and BAS and SCADA systems monitoring these data centers. And the one thing I talk about that's missing is really power quality.
Mm.
And when they really have these technical issues, there's no system in a data center so they're picking up these technical issues. But you and I, once we did the installation of GridViz and connected all those meters off all those sites, wow, I remember once we picked up a fault on a power supply all the way down on an end device, right? Remember? And it took out a couple of boards, but no other system in a data center saw this. So they've got great systems, and I think then that next step, I always talk GridViz and connect our meters to it for the power quality side.
What I will add up here is with the changing grid systems, the impedance on the grid systems, you always have to be very much watchful for the voltage quality. And voltage quality doesn't happen only at the incoming of the data centers, but it has to go down level to the server levels or the rack levels. Yeah. So that becomes very important, and data centers are watchful of it.
Yeah, I see. Okay. So let's say these asset management, which comes to these facilities, getting more crucial in the years, right? Yeah. So we glad you mentioned. Let's say it's not only the energy of kilowatt hours; it's also the power quality, which is more important. And so not only Germany, the RCM is a topic, or in Europe, it's getting also overseas to many places, but probably still not at the modern trend. Yeah. But time to time, it will come.
Yeah.
Slowly, yeah.
But you made a point about asset management, right? If you and I again look at 5 years ago on that same project, we were talking to a power quality team within an energy team. And there was just a couple of guys concerned about what could happen. Yeah. And then the energy team got on board. And then the sustainability team got on board. But they're looking at their assets within a data center. So it's interesting. You mentioned asset management. We didn't even talk about this yet, but we always talk about energy, power quality, and reducing consumption.
Right.
But the fact is, we want our assets to run as long as possible, right? And as efficient as possible. So that's why, again, we talk about, you touched on RCM earlier, and I talk about power quality. And then you mentioned asset management. Yet in this conversation, we didn't talk about reducing consumption. So it's interesting. And I really do agree. When we look at the efficiency of a product or a data center, it's not just the consumption, it's the longevity of it.
Correct.
And so, yeah, I completely agree on the comment with asset management.
Very good. So these are actually the next trends which we are working already since a few years, and we also still continuously improving with our solution of the next meter generations, so to say.
Yeah.
So finally, let's say, what is the most important message you want to give today to the listeners and to the viewers from our podcast? What do they have to take away from the information from today of the data center energy efficiency or energy management aspect?
Data centers are doing the right thing right now. They need to start, they would be starting going into up to the server level monitoring to predominantly all the power quality parameters as well, and which they are going in the right direction. and we are there to help them out with all the information what they want in their systems. And even at the incomer levels, we would be able to give a complete power quality compliance for them. So that's where we are going on that direction basically. Yeah. So that's how it is.
Yeah, good point. Michael?
I completely agree with Hari. If you look at, and we started this conversation talking about an old data center versus a modern data center. 10, 15 years ago, they won't come into us to talk about power quality or asset management or anything along those lines. So if I look at my clientele at the moment in data centers, wow, what a difference if you look at 15 years, right? And for the guys who are listening to this now who are not quite there or have an older data center and trying to work out where to start. I know we've developed many products right in the last few years specifically to retrofit into older data centers, right? Like you look at some of our PQL with the Rogowski coolers. What a cool idea. And all our little LP modules to retrofit into these data centers. So if I sum all of that up and say, well, for the people listening, what do you take from this? The guys with older data centers, there is a way to be efficient. There is a way to really measure the inefficiencies. And we've got some solutions. For the guys who are already doing it, it's really the same take on this. Just ask us. These guys are very highly skilled people. And the guys who are doing it really well today are reckon to say, we're great at what we do, but we need your help. So the takeaway is just ask. We're developing so many products in the background for data centers on the new age data center, but there's the guys who are running data centers 10, 15 years old, and we've got solutions. So again, the takeaway, I repeat saying, really, just ask. We're here to help.
Yeah. So very good. This actually brings us to our conclusion. Let's say we're also, quite active and quite strong since the last years in data center, as we spoke. So also we provide from Janitza, as you know, trainings, right product selections for the right level of measurement, right application cases, already from the consulting side until retrofit operations into it. Yeah? So just recommendation for the viewers and the listeners, please follow to our news channels on our published channels to register for the next training or webinar if you want. So therefore, very good. And thanks for your insights into. So thanks very much for coming and see you by our next episode, guys.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Thank you, Hari, for joining us, and thank you, Tobias and Michael, for the exciting insights.
For our listeners, stay up to date and check the website of Janitza for the latest news.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.